Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Today is June 20th, 2017, and I'm your host, Eva Moore, and this is Evolution. So today we're going to talk about a bunch of things. I'm going to start off here with my handy-dandy prayer book. I'm going to say a prayer because Lord knows I did not get here by myself. Lord knows. We should probably sing the national anthem. Lord, I pray that you would bless the work of my husband, William Newell Brockler II, and my hands, and all of you out there that are listening, and all of you out there that are working so hard. Lord, bless the work of Donald Trump, the White House, and all of those good people who are working diligently against the deep state. Lord, I also ask you to please make our labor bring not only favor and success and prosperity, but great fulfillment as well. If the work we are doing is not in alignment with your perfect will for our lives, reveal it to us and show us what we should be doing differently. Guide us down the right path and give us the strength, faith, and vision for the future so we can rise above any propensity for laziness. Lots of lethargy out there, and that was part of Thomas Jefferson's quote about the Tree of Liberty, that lethargy is the forerunner to death. So may we raise above any propensity for laziness. May we never run from work out of fear or selfishness or a desire to avoid responsibility. On the other hand, help us to see that we don't have to work ourselves to death for man's approval or grasp for gain beyond what is a gift from you. Give us the ability to enjoy our success without striving for more. Help us to excel, but free us from the pressures to do so. I pray that you will be Lord over our work, and may we bring you into every aspect of it. Give us enough confidence in the gifts you've placed in us to be able to seek, find, and do good work. Open the doors of opportunity for us that no man can close, and develop our skills so that they grow more valuable with each passing year. Show me what I can do to encourage him. I pray that our work will be established, secure, successful, satisfying, financially rewarding. May we not be lagging in diligence, but fervent in the spirit, serving the Lord. Let us be like a tree planted in the stream of your living water, which brings forth fruit in due season. May we never wither under pressure, but grow strong and prosper in Jesus Yeshua's name. Amen. These are some quotes, biblical quotes. It says, "Do you see a man who excels in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before unknown men. Do not overwork to be rich, because of your own understanding will cease. Will you set your eyes on that which is not? For riches certainly makes themselves wings. They fly like eagles towards heaven. For what profit is it to a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own? Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul? Because of laziness the building decays, and through idleness of hands the house leaks. Let the beauty of our Lord our God be upon us, and establish the works of our hands for us. Yes, establish the work of our hands." So, hey, America. Yeah, there's some really interesting things. Happy Father's Day out there to all the fathers. And so I'm just going to screen share here. So let's talk about this article. So Katy Perry comes out and she says, all the articles that I've talked about or that I've won are fake and they're constructs. So that's pretty interesting. I know there's been a lot of alternative media people out there doing videos about the Katy Perry video, but what I wanted to show everyone is they may want to look a little deeper. So on this video, Bon Appetit, which is very hard for a lot of people to watch because of the references. Hold on, I'll just go back here. The references to spirit cooking and the Podesta emails, Pizzagate, Pedogate. What I want to show everyone is that perhaps there's a deeper message in here, which is really important, and one that is not yet being communicated, which is making me wonder why. Are people just not seeing it, or are they actually covering it up? So at the marker 333, so if everyone looks here on the timestamp 333, Katy Perry, I'll back it up.
Got a hot light on, screaming I'm red, but don't force it, don't care.
So yeah, at 333, we see her wrist, a shot of her on the table, and she picks up, there she is on the table, and she picks up a bell, and she rings it. And when it zooms in, you see on her wrist, it looks like a tattoo. It looks like it says Jesus. I do not know if that's what it actually says, but it's an interesting reality if it is that, if it does say Jesus. So she rings the bell, and all of a sudden these guys come, Migos, these DJs, turn the eagle. Now, this golden eagle is a reference to the Vatican. You see this in a lot of churches. Fiona Barnett talks about this eagle, this gold eagle above a lot of the front tables that they preach from. They'll have a pole with the eagle above. And so she rings the bell at 333, which is a Masonic code, and the eagle gets turned. It looks like 90 degrees. And sure enough, all these sycophants that have been joining around the table to eat her alive in, nice crafted business suits, their chairs get tipped back. The ropes around their chests come out, and they are now entrapped. Okay, so we had Katy Perry spirit cooking herself at the beginning, and at the end we see they've made a nice pie with all of these disgusting people who were there to hurt her and eat her alive. She's now turning the tables on them. No matter what, this definitely is a very disturbing video. Bon Appetit at the beginning is written what looks like to be blood. A lot of other people have covered that she's, at the beginning here, wrapped in plastic like she's a piece of meat in a freezer, naked. She gets kneaded, and it's really disgusting to watch them pull her apart. There's, an infamous crotch shot, and then she gets placed onto a table where she's sliced and diced, and then she's put into the spirit cooking type tub. And these were all references in the Podesta email. She gets her hair cut, where she turns into more of a hermetic sex. You don't really have the ability to tell what sex she is. And then we see the rest of the video where she rings the bell. So what I am proposing is that everybody actually see this video completely for what it is. So we know that Katy Perry was, definitely a person behind the scenes encouraging Hillary Clinton to be put into presidential position. And unfortunately, for everyone that likes Katy Perry, that was a bit disheartening to see. We're now at a place, though, where in the disclosures of the Podesta emails, with them not actually being covered, we are able to question, well, clearly these things have been leaked. Why is nothing happening? So perhaps what Katy Perry is actually starting to show us is the layers upon layers of reality that are going on behind the scenes, and that there may be, less bad guys and more bad guys, and the less bad guys are working undercover to catch the more bad guys, which is exhausting to try and figure out. But nevertheless, I have not yet seen anyone cover this 333 timestamp with the bell ringing and the Jesus tattoo. And I've not seen anyone talk about this golden eagle rotation of 90 degrees that Migos does. So worth mentioning. Why else I'm bringing this up is because Katy Perry's father came out on June 15th, so just before Father's Day there, and asked everyone to please pray for his daughter. And there was a video that came out down here, and it, says, oh, well, we're all different. We have different beliefs, but you can still pray for my daughter. Now, I just think that everyone needs to pray for all these people in Hollywood. Really, we are dealing with demonic possession, whether you want to call it demonic or interdimensional or alien. This was a Blaze article, but, nonetheless, it can't hurt to look at this and see it for what it is. All of Hollywood has been, at some level, gone into agreement to partner in order to, be the less bad guys of all the bad guys. We don't know, but that seems to be the message in this video. So yeah, dear Lord, please cover Hollywood. The blood of Christ over Hollywood. Put the blood of Christ over all of the people. Let's clean this ship up. So there's that. Let's shift gears to some much more important things, but I know that is an issue that many young people, which is a huge demographic. This is why I'm doing this. This is, a show for the youth to help them have eyes to see. So here's a video audio recording of Christine Assange. And Christine Assange is Julian Assange's mother. And so I'm just going to play this for everyone.
Now that we've got Julian's mom on the phone, could you talk a little bit about sort of his first shinings, the first clue that he was going to be perhaps a interesting person, a troublemaker, somebody who was really interested in public affairs? Well, how do you remember that beginning?
Well, Julian, I don't think there was any one point at which it happened. Julian had always been an incredibly curious child. I'd always wanted to know why, wanted to know how things worked. And I actually encouraged that as a child. He, rather than if he would ask why something would work, rather than say, this is how it works, I would ask him, how do you think it works? And then we would, even as a little kid, explore theories at his age level about how something would work. And he was very turned on by all that. Later, and I also read him a lot of books. From the time he was a baby, he was read books every day, from fairy tales, Greek legends, and the adventure heroic classics, Tarzan, for example, where good was triumphing over evil and there was heroic adventures. And the justice part of it was not through any form of ideology. It was just about through empathy and fairness in everyday life. So I think all those things together, and he came from a creative background. My husband and I were involved in the theatre. So all that was a background that enabled him to look at, to sort of explore justice and why and power to change. And at around, I can't remember what age it was, but specifically with WikiLeaks, then he wanted to know how the world worked. He wanted to be a physicist because he wanted to know how the world worked. He wanted to get to the bottom of it. Mm-hmm. And he went to University of Physics, and he was disappointed that most of the job opportunities were involved in working for the US government, in developing weapons, etc., surveillance. He wasn't very happy with that. And then the next thing I remember, he said, we're having a discussion about what would make the change in the world. We're talking about some of the ills of the world, and what, I asked him, what do you think would lead to a change? And he said, I think that there's only two possibilities for change. One is a cataclysmic event that would knock some sense into people because they have to re-look at their environment. Or the other one was technology. And I think WikiLeaks was the result of the technology that he saw would change the world.
And you said something very interesting. it wasn't about grand things, but fairness in everyday life. Can you think of like one of those everyday examples that sort of blossomed into the Julian Assange that we know in terms of his vision now for information?
Well, not anything specific in forms of day-to-day life, but just generally with people that we were dealing with within the family or neighbours. We wouldn't walk past somebody who was lying in the street, for example. If there was someone lying in the street, whether they were drunk or whether they were in a drug overdose or whether they were sick, we would stop and would ask them if they were all right. And Julian continued that. We were in a situation where we were helping some people involved in a justice situation, and Julian was right in their boots and all, defending people. I don't want to go into it, but it was to do with the court system. But also, you know, that when he was a young teenager, he was very interested in computers. And so I bought him a computer, and he went exploring on it. And later on, he joined up with some other young people. And as there's not a lot available in terms of challenging and adventuring in the suburbs, although we live just outside the city in the hills, sort of still a suburb, these young, very bright friends of his were challenging themselves on computers. And one of the ways they were doing it was to what they call look-see hack, which was they'd break in, they'd look at things, they wouldn't damage anything, just looking and then let people know, look, your system's insecure, we're just letting you know this. Now, during the process of doing that, I remember during the Gulf War that he got in and had a look, and he told me, he said, there's stuff going on here that's not right. There are people doing things that are not right here. And we're not being told about it. It's not coming out in the media that way. And I think that also galvanised him into his concept of WikiLeaks, which was basically a concept around really good media. And that is that the media hold the governments and corporations through investigative truth responsible to the people.
He has done an incredible job. We are much better off. We are more knowledgeable about our government's evil actions around the world. And obviously he's being penalized for that. And first of all, he's been vilified by these phony allegations. How did you react when these allegations came out of the Swedish government prosecutor's office?
Well, I remember the time very exactly. It was about 11 o'clock at night. I got a phone call and the person didn't even introduce themselves. They just said, "This is Assange. How does it feel to have your son charged with double..." I think it was charged, but he wasn't charged. So it must have been an allegation of double rape. And straight from my solar plexus, I just said, he didn't do it. He's been set it up. And because I know my son, and everyone says, oh, they know their son, but I know that Julian wouldn't do it. And but then I had to go through the whole process of investigating the case, because to defend him, I had to know exactly what was going on. So like those who defended him with knowledge, we had to trawl through all of the Swedish prosecution stuff to find out the basis of these allegations. And what we found was a complete and utter fit-up. And that was a horrifying feeling that your son would actually be set up on something as serious as a rape allegation, purely because he published the truth about corrupt power.
Right.
Dennis Bernstein here with Randy Credico, and we're speaking with Mrs. Assange, the mom of Julian Assange. We're speaking to her. Where exactly are you? You're in London at this point?
I'm in Australia.
Oh, you're in Australia. Okay,
I forgot to tell you, Dennis.
Thank you.
I
You're
wanted
very
to
far
keep
away.
that secret.
You're
I
very,
don't give up.
I'm an Aussie.
you're very far away, but you're very close to us here, and we're really appreciating the kinds of material that you're sharing about Julian Assange on this his fifth year of being held captive. Really, you have to say, by threats of the United States government, who has a special penchant for hurting whistleblowers. You know, I think of this this carpenter, this illiterate carpenter who used to walk around the. He actually fled from fascist Italy and ended up in fascist Argentina. Mm-hmm. And he used to spout these phrases. And one of the things that he used to say is, "Truth has few friends, and those few are suicides." Mm-hmm. Now, that's a very dark comment, but it does seem, if you think about Julian Assange or other great truth tellers who what was waiting for them was a jail cell or a bullet. Your thoughts on that courage that it takes to go forward?
The original truth teller was Jesus Christ, wasn't he? And he was overthrowing the money changers at the temple, which is really... In 2000, fast forward 2000, we've got defence contractors, the oil industry, and Wall Street. And he said that you shall know the truth and it shall set you free. And nothing has really changed since then.
Amen.
We still have corrupt power consolidating itself and really destroying the world and not working on the behalf of people. And
at the cost of the next generations.
It sort of brings me back to what we should be doing as people. What do we do? Our leaders let us down again and again. They say they're going to do something and then they get in and fail. Now, they're either bad leaders who are having us on, or they're good leaders and they're under pressure themselves. And there's left and there's right and they're fighting each other and name calling, but it's still not working, is it? So I see WikiLeaks as a uniting point for everybody, from the left and the right and everything in between, uniting around the First Amendment in what you would call in America, or just free press around the world, to hold our leaders in corporate and in the business world and the government accountable through transparency and truth. And good leaders are actually supported by WikiLeaks because if they are indeed under pressure from the deep state, for example, supposing we assume that Donald Trump is a good guy and he does want to, as he says, drain the swamp, which is the deep state, then he's going to need WikiLeaks, not just during the campaign where WikiLeaks was wonderful and he loved WikiLeaks, but even more so now, when the deep state is going to try to prevent his campaign. Now, if he is not in fact a good guy, but a bad guy all along, then of course he's going to want to suppress WikiLeaks. And our judgment of Donald Trump will, I think, very much hinge on whether he is willing to protect WikiLeaks and Julian.
Interesting point. So this actually came out on June 14th, which was on Donald Trump's birthday. I believe it's June 14th. So I'm going to play now another video, which is, I think, excellent breakdown of what Trump should do.
So let me ask you guys that question. We can sit here and joke about this. What's really happening then? I mean, this is their.
What would I do if I were them? And they won't do what needs to be done. I would tell the truth to the American people. I would come out pro-America, pro-patriot. I would go against these drug companies that poison people. I would go against Wall Street, which rigs the market and which murders people. I would go against the human traffickers. I would go against the pedophiles in Hollywood and in the media and in Washington, D.C. But they're all part of that. That's the whole point. The only way they could beat us easily, they have billions of dollars. All they have to do is say, we're going to support the American people.
They have to go against themselves.
Exactly.
Look at this headline out of Variety. Megyn Kelly fails to find the story with superficial Alex Jones. And then they point that out when no teleprompters. I did it live on air, hours of off and on interview, could hardly speak.
Number one question I get every time I'm out.
People, you know, but it was just all gay.
Sorry, everyone.
It's like I hate Nazis. I love humanity. I'm Alex Jones. I love Nazis.
I'm trying to get this.
Megan should have stayed in Fox News. She didn't realize Fox News.
Sorry, guys.
You know, what's going on? This is what's wrong. This is what's wrong. You know, it was a lot easier for conservative media to kind of have that high road in the sense and kind of talk. Is doing it right now.
They don't get it.
But they didn't know
the war only got 10 times worse.
It got worse, and they failed miserably. I mean, it's just
Allie, one of our great analysts back there. Allie always makes great points. We had an Intel guy calling who's always been a great source earlier to point out the big message today you watch with the head of Apple, the head of Google, everybody going to the White House is the elite realize Trump's winning. They're going to get behind free market. A lot of elites are actually saying, I was talking to high-level people earlier this week. They're like, we were always going to be patriots, but the American people weren't ready. Globalists are getting ready to come over to our side. Bilderberg collapsed years ago. I know Cernovich knows about this, some of the same sources. So they've gotten to that point. He said, watch the stock market. Since then, it's gone up 141 points. And again, that's about exuberance. That's about belief. That's about prosperity. We've got $3.5 trillion now in there. Again, a lot of stuff's closing on Main Street because of the internet sales.
Still, though, something needs to come with student loan debt reform, which is something that,
Okay,
and the young people coming up, I like what I see. They are being demoralized still, though. Something needs to come with student loan debt reform, which is something that I think is appalling.
Well, the president should come out and decriminalize marijuana, take it away from the left, and have a new program to cut debts and to cut the cost of tuition through competition.
Yeah, bankruptcy reform. So if Trump wants to take the high road and just really raise hell, here's what I would do. I'd pardon Assange and say that you can have a refugee in America. Let the media, and I would do this all in one night to just freak the media. I would trigger the media. I'd fire Mueller. I'd pardon Assange by executive order. I would just say, you're pardoned. You can now come to America. You can leave Ecuador. We'll give you a safe passage.
Amen.
Just freak the media out. I would say, okay, we're not going to enforce any of the marijuana laws.
Give Snowden the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Amen.
Yeah, give him the Congressional Freedom honor him as Snowden. Bring him in for the Congressional Medal of Freedom. And then I would tell Congress, we want legislation to allow these young people to plead bankruptcy for the student loan debt. Because you can plead bankruptcy.
Which they should. That is a genius plan.
And then just do that all one night. And the media's going to go, oh my God, what do we, you would trigger the media into hysteria. And they would be actually couldn't get out of bed. Their adrenal system would be so taxed from not knowing what to do and which master to serve that they would not be able to get out of bed.
Because all liberal...
That I felt was absolutely genius. I think that is something definitely that Trump should definitely absolutely consider. And, you know, I just want to go back to the reality of, you know, what is it that Julian Assange has done? Well, you know, here we are 2017 and we still don't know completely in the public what happened on 9/11. The American people's hearts, that was a ritual. That was a ritual that was done. That was a shock and awe to harness the shut down the forebrain and hijack the subconscious. We still don't know the truth. We don't know who did it. We don't know why. We know now, thank you to the fires in London, that it's absolutely 100% positive that a building cannot burn, catch on fire and burn and be the reason for what happened on 9/11. Look at this. Look at this. Sonia Pollard is doing some excellent work in the UK. Polton. She is covering this Grenfell false flag. I think this whole building was purposely burnt, perhaps by good guys. I don't know. There's been accounts. People are saying no, there's no dead bodies. They're hearing about dead bodies, but there's no. But like you go there and there's no one. Like I have a video of this woman saying there's no one. We don't know what's going on. Where are the people? Well, this building was burnt, much like how 9/11 supposedly would have been, the towers would have been burnt, and it did not fall. So there you go, right there. Look into the Grenfell Tower issue going on in the UK. It'll prove to you that that there's no way that 9/11's buildings were, because of a fire, a carpet fire, or Building 7 or whatever they're saying. So here's some testimony I want to throw up in tribute to Julian Assange and tribute to Christine Assange and her statements about, the truth setting you free. I truly do believe the American people, the people of the world, because the world economy is based on the United States dollar and the American people and their hearts, the truth shall set us free. Okay, well, let's start with 9/11. And so here is, for everyone out there, a copy of my husband's testimony where he did testify December 19th, 2012, that Vice President Cheney had knowledge prior to 9/11 of the attacks. They asked him, what is his basis? He said the 9/11 Commission reports and testimony of the Secretary of Transportation. And the question is, and those people said that Vice President Cheney had prior knowledge of the 9/11 attacks. My husband answers, William Brock Brader II. They testified to what he was saying, what was happening with Mr. Cheney on 9/11. Yes. And so the next question is, and you've given statements on the internet that you had inside knowledge of the World Trade Center. That's the question. They've cut the transcripts off. So clearly it's not 18 pages, but they didn't provide the next statement. My husband actually clarifies that no, it was not the World Trade Center that he had knowledge of. It was the Pentagon, and that the Pentagon was hit by Tomahawk missiles. We'll listen to that now here.
From June of...
Just take the witness stand, please. Mr. Blackburn, before
it's really hard to
you need to understand, of course, that anything you have to say here could potentially affect the sentencing process and what might happen at the sentencing. My point is to simply say to you, you have no requirement to say anything during this hearing, and if you say anything at all, then there are potential ramifications that might follow from that you might not like. Do you understand that?
I believe that I know I want to preserve my reputation and my honor throughout this process. So when my case does go through the appeals process, that they don't see somebody who constantly is being imprisoned or breaking the rules, that they see who I am.
You are always a Navy SEAL if you are a Navy SEAL. My question is, why aren't you guys doing what I do? Why is it up to me? Why aren't you obeying your oaths? You swore to protect and defend this Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, just as I did.
All crimes that you saw the United States government participated in between 1998 and 2001 in the Middle East were riots too, weren't they? Yes. Have you also made public statements on the internet, on videos, that you had particular knowledge of happenings in Area 51? Yes, I have. And have you made statements that, based upon your special knowledge from the military, that you were aware that the United States has a fleet of spacecraft capable of reaching Mars within 24 hours that's housed at Area 51? I speculated on the possibility. And have you made statements on the internet that you have inside knowledge that the World Trade Center buildings were not destroyed as a result of a plane crashing into them, but rather a Tomahawk missile that was shot into the World Trade Center? No. I did not know the Pentagon. Pentagon, yes. And what was your basis of stating that, sir? Bomb damage assessment. Pardon? Bomb damage assessment. Was it your assertion that the United States government shot that Tomahawk missile into the Pentagon? I can't say for sure.
Okay, so you can see this part about Cheney didn't quite make it into this audio recording. Isn't that interesting? So in the audio recording that was posted online by Don Shipley, who I will get to in a minute, he edited out the part about Dick Cheney. He kept the part about Mars, which is controversial in and of itself, but there are many people within the United States and Black projects that have come forward to testify that there are already programs taking people from Earth to Mars. But that's another topic. We did not hear this conversation about Cheney, but we saw it jump to, and you've had made statements on the internet that you had inside knowledge that the World Trade Center was hit, and my husband clarifies, no, not the World Trade Center, the Pentagon. I'll replay that, just so you can see.
Knowledge that the World Trade Center buildings were not destroyed as a result of the plane crashing into them, but rather a Tomahawk missile that was shot into them. The World Trade Center, no. I didn't know about the Pentagon. Pentagon, yes. And what was your basis of stating that, sir? Bomb damage assessment.
So he asks him, World Trade Center. Bill says no. The Pentagon, he said, what is your basis of that assessment? He said, bomb damage assessment. So there you go. So, you know, these are types of things that people like Julian Assange has made possible for people like William Neal Brockrader to come forward and share with all of us who isn't being given this kind of coverage around what just happened, that Bill testified against Cheney, that he testified about what hit the Pentagon, he testified about the potential that there is a secret space program, and he testified to this in federal court. Okay, now I just want to show you this. This is a screen capture from a private message that Don Shipley, who leaked that audio onto YouTube, sent me. I sent Bill some love, Eva. I'm also sending him a new YouTube video to cheer him up. Do you think that they'll let Bill decorate for Christmas? I hope so. Talk soon. My response, oh, thank you. Very compassionate and kind of you, Don. So this is the reality of what I've had to deal with in the last 5 years is, you know, supposed Navy SEALs harassing me on Christmas Eve. You know, mission harass housewife. And I wasn't the only one. This happened also to Tracy Jacko and Michael Jacko. And just recently, we're seeing potentially, you know, a shooting take place in Texas by a minion. Now, this is why people have to understand what's really going on here behind the scenes. I'm going to play a little excerpt from Duncan O'Finian.
Good stories, and all anybody's trying to do is get noticed in a crowd.
That's not what I'm doing.
You would not believe the people who I haven't spoken with good reason in a long time who suddenly are contacting me wanting information. And I said I'd be a nice guy tonight, so I'm not going to repeat what I've said. I'll just leave it at that. But no, it got so ridiculous at one point. And everybody putting their guess out there, everybody saying they didn't believe it, it's a lie because nobody can get hit 4 times and walk out of the hospital a day and a half later, so on and so forth. And so, must have been a 22 or now it's a 9mm guy, sorry. This does go back to what you and I talked about and the genetic engineering with the healing aspects and
augmentation. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I contribute this to, because even in the trauma unit, after losing 3 pints of blood, I didn't lose blood pressure. It stayed normal. They were checking hemoglobin count like every 20 minutes. It didn't go down, it actually went up. Mm-hmm. And they said normally we would be infusing you, but there's no need. And I wouldn't have taken it anyway because you know what my blood type is. So that's going to be kind of hard to find.
Okay, so here we see 1, 2, 3 shots. Apparently the 4th one hit his phone. So now he did a great job talking about valor. I'm not going to take the time right now to find it because I'm going to hack up this recording, searching for it. But Duncan O'Finian does a great job saying that this assailant that shot at him was complaining that he didn't have valor, meaning that he wasn't a true Navy SEAL. And Duncan's reply was, you know what, at the end of the day, I don't know that I really care about having, the term valor, because it means that I'm killing people. And that's not what I really want to be doing anymore. So a little bit of background about Duncan O'Finian. He is basically, I think, around Nam. He was a partner in Black projects. He's been augmentated through both trauma and, DNA augmentation. So this is the type of reality that, again, is not being communicated to people. And this is the reality of what I just spent the last 5 years dealing with different people who are super soldiers. They're called super soldiers. And they hate that term. They do not like the term super soldier. So Max Spears is another one that comes to mind. And I did speak with his mother today, and I don't think she would mind me just sharing a little bit of a quick update with everyone, in that, there are proceedings going on, and, she's still diligently moving forward one way or the other, trying to get some answers around what happened to Max in Poland, in Warsaw, Poland. And, I believe there is a investigation. Hold on, I'm just looking for it here. Struggling with this as this first year draws near. I need answers. We're just waiting for the inquest. It should be in September. So this is good news for her and her family, and for Max Spears' loved ones, and for everyone out there that's been following this story. And I know there's a lot of people that have been very deeply touched by Max. So, and again, there's an issue here within the super soldier, that term super soldier community, where they are triggered into actually not working together. It's really, really hard because they're programmed to not work together. And I saw a lot of this, within my time in the last 5 years watching it happen. Even when people do want to work together, they can get triggered, and almost like, in Julian Assange likes physics, like perturbation, and ping off each other, start to bounce off one another. So it's not easy. It's not easy to deal for them, and it's not easy for others to deal with them. So let's just say a prayer for Duncan O'Finian, and Randy Moggins, Max Spears, Vanessa Bates, and Sarah Adams, and all the other people that have fallen under the project label. So I myself will let you know that I'm going on 3 years, 3 months with no communication from my husband. It was February 2015, 16 was 1 year, 2017 would be 2 years. Yeah, 2 years, 3 months with no communication from my husband. And, I've just gotten into that blur. It's a blur now. And, definitely this man, Don Shipley, his little tentacles have been reaching into Canada. I, have great compassion for everyone out there, including those who, didn't pay attention or ride along with me in the last 5 years. Don Shipley is a paid disinfo agent, and he harasses housewives. As you can clearly see, he took the time out of his busy schedule to harass me on Christmas Eve. And, I just thought, is it really worth the money for this guy at the end of the day? Like, I've had some really amazing support people come forward, in the Brock Breeder group. And if he needs money and he's that hard up for money, then maybe, I could ask them to help him out, and that would be very beneficial for him. But, that's a tongue-in-cheek type of comment that I'm making here. But that's definitely something that people need to be aware of, is who Don Shipley is. And I'm under the impression that he is about to retire permanently. And honestly, it can't come soon enough. I'm going to switch gears here. I'm going to talk about Booz Allen Hamilton now, and who Booz Allen Hamilton is. Booz Allen Hamilton is under investigation, it says here. This is the New York Times, June 15th, 2017. Booz Allen Hamilton, the vast United States contractor at the center of recent high-profile disclosures of classified information, said Thursday that it is under criminal and civil investigation for possible billing irregularities. The consulting company said on its website that the Justice Department had informed the firm on June 7th that the investigators were reviewing certain elements of the company's cost accounting and indirect cost charging practices with the U.S. government. Booz Allen, considered the most profitable spy organization in the world, has lucrative contracts with federal governments that account for 97% of the company's business. So there you go, Booz Allen Hamilton. Now, why you should care and what you should maybe perhaps pay attention to is the reality of where Booz Allen Hamilton fits in within this little ditty. I'll play for you. It's basically an explanation of what's been going on in the background that most people are not capable of comprehending because it's so vastly hidden. So this is a video about not only Booz Allen Hamilton, but where Booz Allen Hamilton fits in right now in what's going on in the world. And this term, plausible deniability, a lot of people won't understand how 9 to 5 people, how important this term, plausible deniability, is in the center of everything that's going on right now. So I'm just going to say right here, this is very important for everyone. So this was a tweet that Donald Trump put up. It says, as president, I want to share with Russia at an openly scheduled White House meeting, which I have the absolute right to do, facts pertaining to terrorism and the airline flight safety, humanitarian reasons, plus I want Russia to greatly step up their fight against ISIS and terrorism. Sounds pretty good.
The scene starts to crumble to the sound of the drums. Oh boy, there ain't no need to buy that diamond ring. It ain't no big thing, just show her a little swing.
Okay, so now we see Julian Assange posts on May 14th. This is total nonsense that Trump has been indicted by the FISA court. Now, for most people out there, they will not understand what the FISA court is and how this fits in. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to that today, but I'm going to set this up as the original context. So the FISA court is a secret court that operates within the United States. It's in Virginia. And I would put forward that perhaps it is the reason why WikiLeaks is a viable need at this time, at this day and age, with so much secrecy going on within the judicial system. And keeping the people so in the dark, it becomes very dangerous to democracy. And so here's Julian having Trump's back saying, okay, here we go. Trump's been indicted by a FISA court. Now, when you get indicted by a FISA court, you get a FISA court letter. And in this letter, you're not allowed to even basically tell anyone that you've been given a FISA court letter, let alone anything that you're being asked to give testimony about. So a constitution requires grand juries alone issue all serious indictments. So that's what he's saying is there's some process that work right now that is allowing for the overstepping of procedure, of constitutional procedure. Now, what would be at work that would overstep the Constitution? That would be most likely martial law, when martial law is declared. Now, if you understand that potentially that was declared in 2000, 11, 2012, when the NDAA allowed for Americans to be called combatants, then you can see where the Constitution is being overstepped. So there's those 2 points right there. Okay, so I'm going to stop it right here. So here is where Booz Allen Hamilton comes into play in a visual representation. So this man here on the right, this is Dr. Scott Bennett. He is Army intelligence, psychological warfare analyst, specializing in counterterrorism. This man over here on the left is Edward Snowden, and this man at the top here is Brad Birkenfeld. This is a logo that Scott Bennett put together and organized on his book, which is called Shell Games. And if you look over here, we've got Hillary Clinton, Obama, you know, going all around. And at the bottom is Mr. Julian Assange. This is a copy of Dr. Scott Bennett's book called Shell Game, and you can see it encompasses all of the agencies, intel, and then in the middle here, this is the Pentagon Mind Motto, and that's something that's taught through the Pentagon. So again, this is a visual representation of the things that people may not know how to comprehend while reading his briefing. So his book is actually a briefing, and you see here all of the people through the administration, the Obama administration, Eric Holder, Clinton, and Obama, that were part of the program running. Here's Snowden at the top, who was working for the NSA, but he was also subcontracting through Booz Allen Hamilton. Scott Bennett was also at one time, at the same time as Snowden, working at Booz Allen Hamilton. And on the right here, you see the Benghazi attacks. So you have these contractors who were ex-Navy SEALs. They were not currently operating for the United States as, enlisted Navy SEALs. They were dismissed and now free to work as private contractors for the CIA. So for everyone that doesn't understand where Booz Allen Hamilton fits in, for the most part, my understanding is the CIA is overseeing what's happening on the outside of the United States, and then they subcontract into Booz Allen Hamilton to basically spy on people on U.S. soil. And so we're dealing with employees of Booz Allen Hamilton who are potentially U.S. citizens that have been working to do their best under, the Obama administration. How the Benghazi attacks fit in is that these men would have been contracted to work for the CIA. He calls it the whistleblower Bermuda Triangle. So this is Brad Birkenfeld, and this is his book at the Washington, D.C. National Press Club in October of 2016. His book is called Lucifer's Banker. And so it's his testimony to his experience as an American working for UBS Swiss. And this is a little PR stunt he pulled, which I think is quite genius. He parked his delivery truck in front of the White House, and it says, "Swiss bank secrecy: How I destroyed Swiss bank. How I destroyed this Swiss bank," and the untold story. I just think he's got a sense of humor. His question: why is it that I had to travel 3,000 miles across the pond to go help a foreign government? My own government covered it up.
understand, of course, that anything you have to say here could potentially affect the sentencing process and what might happen at the sentencing. My plan is to simply say to you, you have no requirement to say anything during this hearing, and if you say anything wrong and the potential ramifications that might follow from that you might not like. You understand that?
I believe that I don't believe, I know I want to preserve my reputation and my honor throughout this process. So when my case does go through the appeals process, that they don't see somebody who constantly is being imprisoned or breaking the rules, that they see who I am.
You are always a Navy SEAL if you are a Navy SEAL. My question is, why aren't you guys doing what I do? Why is it up to me? Why aren't you obeying your oaths? You swore to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, just as I did. Nobody will deny we both took that oath. So why is it up to me? Why is it up to me?
I said, isn't it a republic? So that was 2012. And so here we are, we're coming into, I'd say, the climax of many people's work behind the scenes. And so for everyone out there, it's important that people understand that Edward Snowden and Scott Bennett, Lieutenant Dr. Scott Bennett, both worked for Booz Allen Hamilton before Scott was sent to the base in Orlando, Florida, or somewhere in Florida. I'll let him kind of share that information right here.
Incredible.
And this is again his book's Shell Game, which is his testimony, his written account of putting the entire administration on notice that this terrorist financing was coming from the United States and being laundered through all these banks.
Bachelor's, and I spoke Spanish fluently. So I lived all my life in California, and I went out to Washington, D.C. in 1998 to go to fight against the Clinton administration. I thought they were doing some things I found immoral and bad, so I packed a bag and I went out to Washington, D.C. in 1998 and started going into the Republican political sector because I thought they were conservative, and I thought they represented conservative values and things like that. So I worked out in the Bush administration from 2003 to 2008, and then I got pulled into Booz Allen Hamilton. How many of you are familiar with Booz Allen Hamilton? Booz Allen Hamilton is a defense contractor that has contracts all over the world in the military and in the intelligence community. CIA, NSA, National Reconnaissance Office, all the major branches of the military. And they do everything under the sun. They started back in the 1940s, setting up the IRS and a bunch of other federal agencies. They're also responsible for developing Homeland Security. So I got pulled into the Booz Allen Hamilton shop by a guy named Colonel Jeff Jones, who was a 4th Psychological Operations commander. He was an old school John Wayne, best and brightest of what we had in the military. I say had in the military because he's passed and there's no one that matches him. And I remember going to a Pentagon briefing in which I stood up and challenged Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld and General Myers. And I said, sir, what are we doing in the psychological operations community? What are we doing in psychological warfare? My background had been in advertising, and I did a lot of study into the Islamic mind, Islamic counterterrorism, jihad. I knew everything there was to know on the Sunnah, the Hadiths, the life of Muhammad, the Quran. And I was working in the Bush administration at the time. And I was working with joint interagencies and how they were attacking the menace of, quote, September 11th, which I came to discover much later was not the narrative that I thought it was. But I'll leave that aside for right now. But Myers and Rumsfeld had said, well, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're failing, and we need better and brighter people to join the team. So why don't you join? Why don't you join the military? And shortly after that, I got a call from Colonel Jeff Jones. Said, I liked what you said. I'm looking to assemble a team of people. I want you to join it. So I left the Bush administration and joined Colonel Jones's team in Booz Allen Hamilton. and I embarked on my military career. I was given a direct commission. I went through Army training, and I saw things, and nothing I ever talk about is classified. I take my oath as an officer and as someone who's sworn to top secret SCI material very seriously, and I never discussed anything that was TSSCI or anything that could be classified. So I then embarked on a journey with Booz Allen Hamilton, and I worked at the State Department and did counterterrorism work, Special Operations Command. I worked joint interagencies, Pentagon, and I was soon after tapped to go into counterterrorism threat finance. Now that was the job tracking money supplies, tracking terrorists and their banks and their couriers and their networks, and everything that bad guys use to fund their operations against U.S. military personnel. And I was taken down to U.S. Central Command at MacDill Air Force Base, Florida. MacDill is a joint base. You've got special operations. You've got all sorts of operations, SEALs and Green Berets and everything down there. And I went down and started doing a lot of work. And my boss was a guy named Dov Zakheim. How many have heard of Dov Zakheim? Dov Zakheim was the comptroller. You can Google a lot of this stuff in YouTube and what have you. Dov Zakheim was the comptroller at the Pentagon where $2.3 trillion went missing. He's all wrapped up in a lot of the YouTube presentations on the 9/11 shenanigans and all the cover-up and who was really responsible. He's Rabbi Dov Zakheim, by the way. He's got dual citizenship in Israel. And his son is a guy named Roger Zakheim. And Roger Zakheim worked with him and worked at the Pentagon too. He also later went to the House Armed Services Committee, and then he's went to a law firm called Covington and Burling. Covington and Burling will be brought in soon. And I'm starting to mention a lot of these parties, and a lot of it, I'll flip on the web. Actually, I think I can do it here. There we go. This is sort of the matrix of the whole operation. Dov Zakheim hired me, took me down to U.S. Central Command.
So we have Assange with WikiLeaks, Scott Bennett, Edward Snowden, Brad Birkenfeld. So I'll stop it there because I think that everybody's starting to get the gist of where WikiLeaks fits in the idea that when we're dealing with a FISA court, we cannot, as the civilian population, keep up. And it's affecting everything, potentially the entire global economic structure. So people like WikiLeaks that allow for good people to come forward and tell the truth on record so that this steamrolling machine that is the deep state doesn't get away with its AI type mentality of just following, this pre-constructed plan. So the plan relates deeply to somebody who's just passed, Cypriot Brzezinski. He wrote in his book, The Grand Chess Game, the geopolitical strategy. I think it was in 1996, 97 maybe, he published this book. So this was something put out quite some time ago, and he just passed away. So that's very interesting. He may have been the mastermind behind a lot of what's going on and it's coming to the head. And he, I believe, was Polish. Not 100% sure, but that's what I understand. So some interesting correlations that we can start to see come together. So I guess right now, the other thing that's important is to talk about Donald Trump and what he's been dealing with in this Russia bullshit going on. Now, for a lot of people, they won't remember, but back during the Obama administration, there was a G8 summit and a get-together at Camp David. And I believe at these two summits, there was a notice. The attendees were put on notice of changes that were about to happen. And I believe that a lot of the work that we're seeing come to fruition now under the beginning first 100 days of the Trump administration are because of some of the good work that perhaps Obama and his administration did in fact secure. And that perhaps the deep state was much too much an issue for the Obama administration, and they ended up getting blackmailed and coerced, or perhaps they were always dirty. I mean, this is where we, as the general public, don't know, because we don't have accurate media and we have compromised judicial proceedings, military chain of command, and so it makes it very hard for the American people to feel like, and the global population, I mean, everybody cares really about what's going on in the United States. It's silly to think that these things aren't affecting everyone on the face of the earth. So to me, this is one of the most exciting times to be alive. It is literally better than any sports game. I say that these men that I've talked about tonight, you know, my husband, William Neal Brockreiter, Snowden, Brad Birkenfeld, Scott Bennett, Duncan O'Finian, these are people who are running like star quarterbacks on different teams, but they're all running for the same goal, and that is to liberate humanity. They may not always get along, but I think in camaraderie, we can always look and support each other and be congenial and say good game, you know? And this is actually how it's going down right now. And Trump, you know, he's the all-star right now, running through a lot of interference. So I hope this brings some light. I think it's just the tip of the iceberg that I'm trying to explain to everyone, but I think it's important. I think it summarizes a lot of things that are kind of random and may seem like off to the side and not necessarily connecting, but the beautiful thing is that you can buy Brad Birkenfeld's book, Lucifer's Banker, to learn all about the shenanigans of what's going on in the big banking structure that is being cleaned up thanks to the Pope. That was a decree made in 2008. And since Pope Francis has come in, he's held fast to that. You know, there was a pontiff decree in 2013 that basically gave these guys the right to bag him and tag him and start bringing in, you know, these people who are funding ISIS, people who are funding and participating in pedophilia, child pornography, sex trade, human slavery, organ harvesting, etc., etc. A lot of the work that George Webb has been doing is excellent. So, you know, and it's coming from all different sides, all different factions. So, you know, clearly Scott Bennett has mentioned that he came from a Booz Allen Hamilton background and in a Bush administration, but he was actually the one to stand up and hold Rumsfeld accountable, which I did think I saw that video a long time ago. So that's actually interesting. We're seeing my husband, William Neal Brockreiter, testify in federal court, about Dick Cheney and what hit the Pentagon. So you've got, you know, a tie to the Pentagon perhaps. So we're getting all these different sides coming together and adding in their piece of the pie to hopefully clean this ship up and get it ship shape. So thanks for listening. I will do some more videos here soon, but happy Father's Day to all the good men out there. God bless, and God bless Donald Trump. God bless America, and thanks for listening.